and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
And then we expand on them with very. I'll finish off the change by buying them. Pardon? What? And it took me a while to decipher what he was saying. I came up with we can get better at what we're weak at, and we can even get better at what we're strong at. What makes communication healthy or effective? And Welcome to this edition of What Matters. I am your host, Erica Lita, and today I have special guest, Simone Jennifer Smith.
So excited.
Yeah, I am excited too. So let's start at the beginning. I'm going to let her talk about herself. I mean, this is what the show is about. We want to get to know Simone a lot better. So if you are a TCN fan and you were watching, you just saw her. She just finished up her show, Here to Help.
Yes.
So, Simone, who is Simone? Simone Jennifer Smith is one of my mentors.
I didn't know that.
Yes, you are. You are. You've taught me so much in the last 20 months. It is amazing.
Now you got it down to months.
Yeah, man. I even have it down to numbers of weeks. So Simone is the chief reporter at the Toronto Caribbean newspaper, and just some accolades for the Toronto Caribbean. It is the only Caribbean newspaper in Ontario that is affiliated with the newspaper. There's a board for newspapers.
Yes.
And that means that this newspaper has commitments. It has a minimum circulation to do. Yes. It has to be delivered. It has to be on time. So it's not an emotional thing. It is an actual, factual newspaper that you can count on for your news, for your information, for your upcoming events, and coverage of what has happened. Simone is also the host of Here to Help, which was just on, and also for In the Now.
That's right.
She's also a writer, and I'm going to ask her a bit more about that because in her own bio, from her own words, she does differentiate between being a journalist and being a writer. Simone is also the founder of the Here to Help, what would I call it? A
community development.
Community development. Yeah. And she is an active, verbs here, an active member of the community.
Wow, sexy picture.
Going out there, the cleavage is always there. I personally like it. So, I picked a few pictures that I like. By the way, that was some of my favorite part was going through your social media like a stalker and picking out your pictures. And you have some lovely photographs, so it was super, super easy to do. So that gives you just a taste, a fraction of who Simone is and what she does. And that is why I'm so excited to have Simone here because, as I say in my mission statement for What Matters, I want to highlight the doers of our community. The people who actually get things done. We've got a lot of critics. There's a lot of people with opinions, but oftentimes the most opinionated people are not mobilized. They're not doing anything.
Just a chat.
Just a chat. So when you have a big voice and you back it by big actions, I become a big fan. So Simone, thank you for staying after your show to do my show. And I'm truly honored because, as I said, you are someone that I really look up to. So before I ask Simone the question of the hour, I'm going to tell you my very, very first impression of Miss Smith. So in June of 2018, I came to the studio, or it was May, for an interview to see if I could have a show. And Simone was here. And if you guys didn't know, apparently I photographed tall, but I am quite short. And Simone is not. And she wears some crazy heels. There you go. I think we're both in flats in that picture. And that indicates to you the height difference, okay? So Simone's a tall lady. I am not. And Simone wears some wicked shoes. So walk into this meeting, and Simone is there. And you'll see through some of the pictures I show throughout the show, she's always got a different hairstyle. She's a chameleon. She can be anything. If you don't know, you may not know she's there. And I walked into the room and I looked at this woman and I said, she is formidable. And let me define, you know how much I love definitions, people? Formidable. Inspiring fear or respect through being impressively large, powerful, intense, or capable.
I'll take that.
And when you look up the definition, capable comes up again when someone is formidable. And interestingly enough, in the definition of a formidable woman, they talk about her capability. And I can say almost 2 years later, Simone is formidable. And did Selena just run out before I could get her?
No, there Selena's there.
Okay, all right, because she's up next. And so that was my impression of Simone. And I'm really pleased to say that in this almost 2 years, you are formidable. She has taught me, she has trained me, she has encouraged me, she has cheered me on, and I'm happy to say has corrected me. And that is one of the biggest parts of being a good mentor, is saying, yo, come back here. Let me show you something still. And she does it with love and grace. And she is formidable, your strong voice, and I love that about her. So Selena, what was your first impression of Simone?
That's not one word, Selena.
I like that. That's very, she's one of the, when she's sitting, and please don't ever think that just because someone's not looking at you or seeming to pay direct attention to you, that she is not paying attention. And I believe that's one of the things that makes her such a great journalist, is the power of observation,
Very
is
much.
looking at things. And I would say from a bird's eye view, a very big view. And something I respect a lot about you is that you are an opinionated woman. You are somebody with strong opinions. But what I see is you stepping back from those to observe and not just coloring everything with Simone's lens. So that is something that makes a good journalist, that makes a good talk show host. And so now that we've, just smothered you in accolades and love, Simone, what matters to you?
So, first of all, thank you, Erica, for all the accolades. Boy, Mom, did you hear all those nice things she said about me? Okay, check first. What matters to me? People matter. People being, more than anything, people being mentally healthy matters to me. It's one of the reasons why I started Here to Help. So here, my name Simone in Hebrew actually means to hear. So the name of my company is actually Simone to Help.
Okay.
But it's Here to Help. And I started it because I want to help people. I think people need help and they can't always find someone to help them. So that's what I've placed myself out there to be, is to be helpful to people if they want it. But not everyone, I've realized, wants help. That's something I've had to learn.
And not everybody recognizes they need help.
Yeah, that's a big one too. And my problem is sometimes I try to be too helpful.
Right.
And then when they don't want your help because they don't think they need your help, it kind of backfires on you.
Yeah.
So, but that's what matters. If you're going to ask for what matters to me, people matter to me.
People matter to you. So there's the Canadian Human Rights Internal Organization, and how did you say it? Because I know I mispronounced
CRIO.
CRIO.
Yes.
And so can you tell me a little bit, because you just spoke about how much mental health means to you.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that organization as well?
Well, you know what? I want to actually start doing more work with them. I started doing work with them in 2017, I believe. And they brought me on as a mental health advisor. And it's in the Jane and Finch area. And what they do is they get a lot of immigrants who come in and refugees. And when you're coming in from sometimes the refugees are dealing with some real situations. I mean, rape. Like some of the stories I heard, like this one young woman, she basically got passed around from man to man. When she came here, she was just a mess. So these are just some of the stories that I heard. And my role there was to develop a program for them, to institute something. And for me, what I've realized is that when you bring up mental health to our community, most communities, people will shy away from it. So what I did there is I provided an educational platform.
Okay.
So instead of saying psychology, psychotherapy, I more use it as education. Let me educate you on mental health instead of it being, you know what, you may need to talk to a psychologist, because people don't want to hear none of that.
No, they more need, I get what you're saying, like you said, especially in our community.
Yeah, like it's better to educate people on it so that they can kind of take it upon themselves
To take that next step.
So that's what I did there. Right now, actually, on Facebook still, I do a lot of the posting on mental, and the same thing. It's all education. It's not forcing anyone. It's just educating you on different aspects of mental health, anxiety, depression, things like that.
Okay, so we have to take a break because time here always goes too quickly.
Yes.
Always goes too quickly, but when we come back, I have some more questions, and we're going to find out a bit more about, actually, I want to know about being a journalist, what that's been like for you and how you got to that point. So when we come back from this break, we will be right back with Simone Jennifer Smith.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. We look like a dentist commercial, just pure teeth. Pure teeth. I am here with Simone Jennifer Smith. Simone is a journalist. She's a writer. She's a community outreach specialist. She is a mental health advocate. She is a mentor. She is like a lot of everything. Oh, and special shout out to Dave Rankin. Please get better. Love and kisses. You did such a good job taking care of her. Now you're sick too. So we hope you get better soon, Dave. Very, very soon. So Simone, journalism. I think that title, that word, it comes with so much. And the era that I'm from, I grew up watching Barbara Walters and Stone Phillips and, the old school people. And one of the reasons Barbara was so important and pivotal is because she was one of the few women that got into the back of the army trucks and she went to the front lines. And I remember watching her report from crazy places, and she was one of the first. And I remember watching things like 2020. Now, I'm from the era where TV actually went off air. There were these lines on television and it tuned off. And there was a limited amount of channels, and news was only like twice a day. You had morning news and an evening news, and then Sunday they'd bore you to death with news. But news was fit into these very limited times. So it was special, and they concentrated things. And now with 24-hour news stations, they need a lot of filler. I mean, imagine going from 1 hour a day of news to 24. So you need a lot of filler. Now, we could talk about fear mongering. We can talk about, the skewedness of it. But one of the things that has startled me and disappointed me really with news is it seems to have become an opinion piece. Journalism has seemed to gone out the window in my understanding of it, which is reporting the facts of what is happening. And now it has turned into opinion pieces. For example, many years ago when I very first time I ever saw Fox News, it was on television, and I'm not lying, I thought it was a skit. I thought it was like one of those Saturday Night Live, they had that news skit. So I'm watching it and I'm actually laughing. And then after a while, I'm like, this is a really long skit. Like, this has been going on for a while. And then after a while, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a news channel.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. And what scares me even more are there are people who watch this day in and day out. Fox News, CNN, shots fired. These stations that seem more like people's personal opinions and passions than the reporting of the things that are actually happening and then giving you enough information behind it to form an opinion. So for you, what is journalism, Simone?
So for me, journalism is, you're right, it's getting the facts, presenting the facts without your own bias in there,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing people to form their opinion. But you've got to give people enough facts. You can't be giving people skewed facts. You've got to give them real news. That's the problem with 24-hour news, is that you're right. The filler is all this fake news bullshit that they have right now coming out. And it's unfortunate. It truly, truly is. Another problem, too, with journalism is the whole idea of with what bleeds leads. So the only news that gets any high traction is the news where someone dead off, scandal. These are the things that are popular.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Toronto could be a newspaper. We don't report on that stuff. We stay more on the positive end of things. People don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear about positivity.
Really?
No. I'm telling you, they don't, Erica. They don't want to hear positive. They want to hear who got killed off, who the queen's going to kick out the house now, who, all type of foolishness, who's doing what on Housewives of whatever show. It's always drama, murder. Any of those things are always going to get more attraction than positive news. So it's very difficult being in my field right now because we only report positive, right? We don't report negative. So it's it's a tight spot to be in because no one wants to pay attention to you. So you have to find a way to make positive news attractive enough for people to pay attention to you.
For people to pay attention. And I know for me, especially in starting this platform, one of the things that I have really strived to do is not be sensationalist.
Yeah.
I want to build an authentic platform. I could have way bigger numbers, do things that are really against my own beliefs and my own things to just get those numbers. But then for me, it's quality over quantity.
Right.
And I want to present stories and information that's of help to our community and people who are inspiring and people can see themselves in that. And you're right that I see sometimes, it's like, well, you have these scenarios and then they want to talk about it. Well, this person's husband did this with so-and-so, and there's so many views and there's so many comments.
They get that, yeah.
And they get that. So how have you, I know for the Toronto Caribbean, like you said, it's really skewed towards the positive aspects of the community.
Yes.
They do bring up problems, but always with solutions.
Always
With solutions. That's something I ask people when they come to my show. If you're bringing a problem, please bring your solutions. It's not just someplace to complain. Now, on your shows, and if you can kind of bring us through Here to Help and In the Now, the difference between the shows, because in following your social media and following Here to Help, what I've noticed is there's been a theme, especially since the end of last year, and it's really been about building up yourself. I've noticed that. And one of my favorite captions on one of your pictures is evolving, transcending, and metamorphosizing. And that was from the end of December 2018. And I noticed that theme follow through with you throughout 2019, where you talk about changing and transforming and coming into your own. And then in a wonderful article you wrote, where you talk about some past traumas that you dealt with, and you go on to say that you're going to be going into the best decade, a better decade in your life. And in that constant encouragement, I see your posts in different groups, and like, you're very educational. Simone really does educate. It's not, you should go talk to somebody. These are the things you may be feeling. These are the things you can do about them. This is what anxiety looks like. This is what depression looks like. And really giving people tangible things that they could say, wait, Susie might be depressed because tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
And really giving people help in understanding. Because like you said, there's a huge gap, especially in our community, between the problems and the help. And a lot of people aren't trying to bridge that gap. So you're providing a very necessary filler in our community, where you're giving them information that could possibly lead them down the road to getting the professional help.
If they want to take it, though, remember I said that's the problem. I can offer it, but if you don't want to take it, what can I do?
Yeah.
There's so much you can do. I think my biggest thing for me is, you're right, it's the education. You need to be educated in order to evolve. If you don't educate yourself, you can't evolve. So I will always provide the material to people to evolve, but they have to be willing to take it, right?
So the last few shows that you've had for Here to Help,
Yes.
Can you tell us what the theme has been? Because I've noticed a running theme.
It is self-development. It's becoming a better you. I think a lot of people want to do better, but they just don't know how to do better.
Yes.
Right? It's that want to get past this zone that they're in, but they have no idea how to do it. Who moved my cheese? Right?
Right.
That was a big one, because it's that idea of being stuck and not being able to get past that being stuck part. The 4 agreements, that was another big one, because for me, that's something, and I want to make sure I'm clear about something. Everything that I teach, I've taught myself first.
Yes.
I'm not just up here trying to preach. No. I've used these things on myself. I use them every single day. Erica, I'm telling you, like, anything that I say to somebody else, it's something that I've dealt with on my own, and I really know how they've worked, or how it's worked in my life. And I try to share that, because I'm always like, if it worked for me, it might work for somebody else.
For somebody else. And I feel that in your post, that it's really you sharing your experiences.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I really love about you and your actual presence and your social media presence, is Simone is very transparent.
Very.
Very, very transparent. And it's interesting to me that your transparency and your authenticity actually comes across as strength.
Some people don't like it.
There's so much strength in vulnerability. There's so much strength in vulnerability. And I said that. I could see, like, no offense, girlfriend, but I could absolutely see why people don't like you.
I know.
Because you're a strong character.
Very.
And you fill space and you fill the room and you say what you think, often in patois. To many people's horror. So it comes out sounding really harsh. She'll be speaking in this fluent, lovely English. She'll throw something in so she meant it. But that authenticity, that transparency, for anybody out there that's working on social media, who's trying to build up an audience through social media, that's the way to do it. Be authentic. They're removing the likes. They're removing, all of the measurements of your worth that people are used to. And now you actually have to engage people, have conversations, and not just post pretty pictures, which she's very good at, but she actually talks to people. So when we come back from this break, I want Simone to tell us what her gifts are. Okay? So we'll be right back after this break.
Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
I gotta have her on all the time. She makes me laugh. I love it. Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. I'm your host, Erica Elita, and the coughing lady over there is Simone Jennifer Smith. She is the chief reporter at the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. She is host of 2 shows on TCN Network. She is the founder and director of Here to Help, which is a community development program that is actually here to help the community. And Simone today is sharing with us her passions, her views, and you are one heck of an interesting lady. I know that I could talk to you for several weeks, and I'm already ready to have her back on. So, Simone, I want to read a little something that you wrote about yourself, or was written. Simone Jennifer Smith's great passion is using the gifts that have been given to her to help educate clients on how to live meaningful lives. So let me ask you, Simone, what are your gifts?
Okay, so something that you had noted earlier, observation. I am one of them people who sees things that people don't think, because I know how to listen with every part of my body. People don't realize that. I pick up on so much really quickly. It's a gift that I've had for a long time. I can walk into a room and feel things. I don't know how to describe it, but I know when people don't like me. I mean, within seconds, I can tell when someone doesn't like me. I can also tell when people are lying. People don't know that either. I can pick up on it. And honestly, 99.9% of the time, I am right. I've been right almost every time. So that's one of my gifts, is that gift of observation. I'm a really good listener. It's something that comes naturally here to help. And writing. I've been writing since I would say 4 or 5. Writing comes easy to me. Put words in front of me and I can manipulate words and make them into whatever I want them to be. So those would be my strongest gifts.
What I think is beautiful, and what I hope that everybody in our audience can do, is identify your gifts. I think that's something that a lot of people can't do or won't do.
Yeah.
Especially as women, I feel that we are taught. I was just having this conversation about humbling up yourself. And looking up the definition of the word humble, because that is my nature. I used to read the dictionary. I used to read the encyclopedia, not as punishment, really as fun. The guy came to the door. He sold my mother that burgundy set with the gold binding.
Yes,
and I sat there
them.
and I systematically read through those things. Even my mom thought I was weird. So I love definitions. And when I look up the word humble, I don't really understand why people aspire to minimize themselves.
Yeah.
I find it very weird that that's something people say, oh, humble you. Why
But I
should
want to
you
lower myself.
minimize yourself and discredit yourself? But I feel that especially as women, that's something we're taught to do. You know, I've had men, I love that picture of you, by the way. I've had men who they say, oh, you know, they give you a compliment. Oh, you're beautiful. You say thank you. And then the response is, oh, you're full of yourself. What? I said thank you, but they're so used to people minimizing themselves. Oh, you're very beautiful. Oh, no, thanks. Thank you. Thanks very much.
I know.
I mean, I could have done that, right? But it sounds polite. I said thank you, and I get, oh, you're full of yourself. So I think that we are kind of raised and trained to minimize ourselves. And the fact that you can identify your gifts, you speak of them with pride, and most importantly, she's using them.
That's the thing, Erica, is that when people are able to identify their gifts, they can now use those gifts to take them where they want to go in life. That's what's important. You can make money off your gifts. people just don't understand. You've got to find that gift and go with it. It's very important. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter. You could be 50. If you can tune into yourself and find your gift, you can go anywhere, do anything.
So when you think now of some cliches for the younger people, and I really hope that you guys are starting to pile up and you're out there, when you're told things like, do what you love and the money would follow. Listen, I heard that all through college. I want to throw people out the window. What do you mean, do what I love and the money would follow? Because you go in, especially when you're the child of an immigrant, right? You go in with the mindset, I'm going to do something that will make me money so I can have money. And gifts, passions, forget all that.
I know.
Find a job. Be a nurse. Right away I signed out of that. But there were very specific things, and one of the reasons I said, well, I don't want to be a nurse because I think I'll run out of care. Like I think that there's a finite amount of care in me, and I don't want to use it just on strangers. I want to care about my family, but my passions, the things that I loved, I totally ignored them as things you do in your spare time or as hobbies, and went to get that computer science degree or that degree that would make me money. So for people out there, and like Simone said, it's not about your age. You could be 16, you could be 56. Identify what you're good at. Be honest with yourself about what you're good at. Don't try to measure it up against other people's talents.
No, don't do that.
Find your own. Find out what you're good at. And then, like Simone said, you can actually take that and make it into something that not just sustains you, but grows you.
I started journalism last year. I
Stop
at
this.
the age of 39.
You started journal. I thought
Last year. You see, it doesn't matter what age. And now I am probably one of the top journalists. People may not want to give it to me, but I know I'm one of the top journalists here in Toronto. No one can deny that. Go read the paper. Go read it.
Let me ask you a question on that. What has, and I don't know if you're going to be able to have one, so I'll ask it more in a group. Okay. Can you tell me some of your favorite journalistic experiences?
Oh, I love media trips. Okay. So trips that take me out of this blasted country are good for me. Anything that allows me to experience something new, allows me to experience new people, new cultures. So this picture is important because...
Yes, it is.
So this picture here is an example.
Yes, so that's why I picked it.
So I was actually on the phone. The phone that they're pointing to is me when I was in Martinique last year.
Yeah.
No, 2018 coming into 2019.
Yeah.
So that was one of those times where I was out of the country, kind of doing my own thing. I actually hadn't started journalism here yet, but I was part of the team, and I learned a lot just being in Martinique, just being not in this country and being around people and learning about them and what they do. And that's the best part of journalism. Another great part is interacting with people.
Yes. Interesting.
Like I've had number one experience was absolutely when I met Genuine. Absolute top-down experience.
Yeah.
Ever. Oh my God. And you know what? Being a journalist takes a lot of patience, because just to get through, Selena is my witness for that. That interview, if you guys knew what we went through to get it, and it only lasted, 2 minutes? And it took us almost an hour and a half just to get backstage. The amount of crap that we had to go through just to get back there for a 2-minute interview. But it was so worth it. So there's just a lot of perks to being a journalist. It's like, I tell people all the time, it's like having a key to the city. Whatever event you want to go to, you can go to, but it comes with a price. If you're going to get into these events, you better produce something. It better be strong. So this is where being a writer kind of helps me out, because now I can tell a story, but I can tell a story real well.
That's amazing, because I was thinking that you were going to say media trips. I almost actually took a clip of the Jamaica trip. I was going to put that picture in, but I wasn't sure. And that picture that we showed with Simone on the phone, that also, too, is just an example of how she shows up. She's always showing up. So we had a staff meeting, and she showed up. And that's why we're pointing at the phone, because where everybody who was a member of the team at that time is in that picture. But Simone is there. So it just, again, as an example, is leadership. As I told you, Simone is one of my mentors, and it's in watching. You know, you could tell people whatever you want, but they watch you.
Yeah.
And through watching her, I see she always shows up. She's always there. Now, that was one of my favorite memories to date. We're in Orangeville at the Caribbean Festival.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
my first, I think I just started TCN like 2 months prior to that. And they're like, we're going here, we're going there. I'm like, I'm coming. Where are you? Jerkfest, here I am. Just running behind the station, going anywhere that they'll allow me to go with them. And in the short time I've been here, I've had so much fun. I mean, I even felt, I didn't bring this picture, but I like broke into the Kings and Queens. And I got to stay in the media section.
Right.
And
That was
let
so
me
much
tell
fun.
you, I'm so spoiled. I will never sit in them bleachers again. I don't care what I have to pay for ticket,
Never
which
again.
article I have to write. I don't care if they make me carry a heavy camera. Never again will I sit in the bleachers, because I was in the VIP section, like right behind the press section. And
was great.
it is a completely different experience.
It is.
Just going to the bathroom, I'm going through the crowd. I'm like, oh no,
Oh, hell
no, I could not do this.
Oh,
So it's wonderful. Okay, I can tell you that even in my limited experience as a TV, I love this. This is the place to be, on the other side of the desk. So when we come back, I cannot believe we're in our last section.
I know.
It's ridiculous. So I'm going to ask Simone 2 more questions, because I think they're really important, and they say a lot about the woman that she is. So we will be right back after this break.
Yo, this is Conscience, and you're watching my TCN TV network. Peace.
My name is Trish Curling, and I am an online coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher, and your new host of Shaping Life, which is all about understanding that we have the ability and the control to take charge of our health and wellness. But we can't do it alone, and I can't wait to sit down with the best in the industry. Please tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. live here on the TCN Network.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. I don't know how the time went so fast. Yes, I did, because time flies when you are having fun. So I am here with Simone Jennifer Smith. She's the chief reporter at Toronto Caribbean newspaper. She is the host of 2 of the shows here on TCN Network. And I can guarantee you that you will be seeing a lot more of Simone throughout the year 2020 as she and myself and the other members of TCN cover this city. We blanket the city and bring you the very best of what there is. And at the end, we are going to wrap it up with what's coming for you and what you have in store, what you can share. One of the things, okay, another quote that Simone has on one of her pictures. Can you pull up that curly-haired picture of Simone? I love that picture. I love so many of your pictures. This one, the caption is, "I hate making mistakes. I love learning from them." And again, her transparency, her honesty. This is what I messed up, but this is what I learned from it, and hopefully you can learn too. I think that in striving to be a better person and being extremely human about it and going, wow, I messed that up, and sitting down and analyzing what you learned from it, and then having the courage and the grace to share it with other people so maybe you won't mess that up too, is amazing. So one of the things you also say about yourself is you are a risk taker.
Yeah.
Why be a risk taker? Why?
Why not? Why not? Why live life safe? I always say this. We have one time on this merry-go-round. Once. You don't get a do-over. You get one time. Do everything you want now. Do it safely, but do everything you want now. Don't wait. Doesn't matter how, again, forget age. Forget what people say you're limited to. Just do it.
Just do it. I love that. See, I knew she'd have a good, because in one of her bios, she says, repeatedly. I'm a risk taker. I take risks. I take calculated. I'm not crazy.
Calculated risk.
Take calculated risks, but I take risks, and I love that. And that is exactly my reasoning too. I've been going around recently a lot, and people say, "Oh, this, that," and then my response is, "We're all going to die, right?"
We're all
I
going
tell them
there.
like we're all going to die. It's going to happen, guaranteed. Everyone you know will eventually not be here. So the time is now. And another thing you say is about rejection. Tell me, Simone, how do you use rejection as ammunition?
So I've always had a problem with people saying no to me.
I hate rejection. It's something I've come to learn about myself recently.
I always had a problem with people saying no, because especially when I think that they're saying no without reason.
Okay.
So rejection is always fuel, because it's like, okay, you don't want me, but someone else will. And when that someone else does have me, you are going to see why you shouldn't have rejected me, idiot.
So you have to be careful of drinking. I have to.
Sorry. That's usually how I answer things, though. Your fault. Your bad.
Fault. So you say that rejection is something that fuels you, and it pushes you forward. And I think that's how we look at things is everything. We aren't what happens to us. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of cliches, and you know what? The more I listen to them, and the more I live, is the more I realize they're true. That's why they're cliches. That's why people keep repeating them. And so the how you look at things really dictates how you live. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it. It's what you do with what happens to you, because you have people that face the most adversity. Earlier you were talking about refugees, and I mean, we live in a country of immigrants. That's what we live. After the land was stolen and the original people were massacred to a large degree, it was just populated by others, right? Mm-hmm. And Canada is still welcoming and opening gates to people. And sometimes when you have people that are coming from other countries, the stories that you hear, and then you watch them come to Canada and within 10, 15, 20 years build empires and have, their first generation children as wonderful things in the community, giving back, doing so much. And the stories that these people tell will break your heart, will blow your mind. And let me give you a little disclaimer about immigrants and refugees. Most of them were living real good before whatever disaster happened. Yeah. Okay? People think that all refugees and immigrants are poor and have nothing. A lot of that having nothingness is brand new. They had plenty before, and then someone dropped a bomb or declared a war or changed their status, and their whole lives change. So a lot of these immigrants and refugees are educated. Mm-hmm. They are traveled. They've been places in the world. They have experiences that would blow your mind. They're multilingual as well. And to hear some of their stories and then see what they do next is so inspiring. And then, as my mom likes to say, you damn Canadian children, and you have everything all lined up for you, and nothing is done. How do you have parents that cross an ocean to come somewhere that they had no idea where they were going, what they were doing? I still don't know how our parents stayed. How you come from the Caribbean and get to somebody's fridge and stay. Right? Because when other people from other countries ask me, they're like, well, what's it like in Canada? I'm like, well, do you have a freezer? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's like a freezer.
Move into a freezer.
It's like a city in a freezer for half the year. And then the other half of the year, it's beautiful and wonderful. But it is, and they can't believe me till they get here and everything's frozen. I said, I told you, it's frozen. So how do our parents come from that, come here and establish lives? Mm-hmm. A lot of them in their late teens, early 20s. And then have the next generation here, and we swing our foot for 40 some odd years. Yeah. Look at people. And complain. And say things like, we're from the ghetto. You ever met a ghetto? You know a ghetto here in Canada? Stop that.
Go to Detroit.
Yeah. You've never seen a ghetto. I had a friend from New York come to Montreal once, and I was driving her through the projects. She said, Erica, stop that.
These ain't projects.
She said, these are not projects. She said, they're cars.
Yeah.
And they're bikes, and they're outside, and they're okay. She's like, these are not projects. You've never seen projects. And then when I went to New York,
you see some projects.
Listen, it was like an episode of Law and Order. Their trash cans on fire. A big rat ran by. It looked like a raccoon.
It's real.
There was literally a dude in a trench coat in the corner. I couldn't believe it. It was like, I swear it was set up for
Did
me.
he open the trench coat?
No, I don't. He probably did. I didn't look. But the fact is that, as Simone said before, some of these stories will break your heart. But it seems to me that instead of it discouraging you and breaking your heart and putting you down and you pulling out your violin and your sensitivity, we're going to talk about your sensitivity just now, you've used this to motivate you.
Yeah, girl, I've been through a lot. We would never be able to cover what I've been through. I've been through a lot.
So tell me about this sensitivity, because I met you and I thought, you know, here's this tall, regal-looking black woman, and she's very self-assured. You could see she's in herself. And she smiled at me, and she's friendly enough, but I could tell I was being analyzed. And I could also tell when I came into TCN, it was almost a sacred space where everybody, this is our space, and if you're going to come in it, you're welcome, but make sure you come in right.
Mind yourself.
Right? So I felt that. And then before the show, we were talking a bit, and you said, yeah, I'm really, really sensitive. You mentioned that you're a Cancer.
Yes.
And you're very sensitive. And to be honest, Simone, I feel that you're kind of like water off a duck's back. You just don't let things
Nope. Things affect me.
bother you.
Things affect me. But what I have learned is that you never show your face.
Ah.
You never let people see what you're feeling. You've got to be very mindful because people will use that against you. So I've learned, just listen, these are all things I've learned in my time, girl. I used to be even more sensitive when I was younger. But I saw how people used my emotions against me. So now when I feel something, people will take their shots and I'll absorb it and I won't say nothing. I will only show that to the person who I know is not going to take it and use it against me.
Make it
so
ammunition.
My family, my friends, Dave, those are the only people who see how truly, if you said this, I'm sensitive, Dave would be like, yep. Yes, she is. She is highly friggin' sensitive. He is the opposite of me. He don't feel shit. I feel everything, but I just don't show it.
Okay, so that's another lesson that I'm learning here today. It's not that you're not sensitive. And quite honestly, as insightful as you are, it would be very disconnecting to think you weren't sensitive, because insightful people are sensitive. And another thing is that I think, like me, you need to recharge. So you retreat and you close off and you recharge.
Oh, yes.
And
I'm an introvert all day.
100%. You are looking at two very social introverts.
Very socially introverted.
Very, very, very social introverts. Because after doing big things in big crowds,
Tired.
I am exhausted.
Exhausted.
And my good friends know, don't even call Erica today. She's home. Just
Give her time.
Just give her some time to fill back up, and then I'll come back out and I'll give what I have to give.
Yes.
So before we leave, because of course we're running over time. Hi, Grant. The influence, it's terrible. Oh. What's coming up, Simone? What can we look for from you here to help in the now? The Toronto Caribbean newspaper. What is coming up in 2020?
I'm going to establish myself as one of the greatest writers of this time. That's what my plan is. I'm going to say it now. I'm going to establish myself as one of the greatest writers of this time. Hands down.
Okay, so Selena, you earmarked that little part of the show, the clip, so that when she plays it on her show at the end of the year, when she said, remember I told you in January on Erica's show, this right here? Watch closely. Simone, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come on. I know you weren't feeling well when I saw your message at 2 a.m. because that's what journalists do. They're up at all kinds of stupid hours researching and finding pictures and fact-checking and confirming dates with other hosts. And you said you weren't feeling well. I was like, Lord, please make her feel well enough to come in.
No, I would have still come, girl. I was struggling, but I was going to be
Well,
there.
I have a picture proving that you always show up.
Yeah.
I have a picture that proves
Even when
that
I'm not in the country.
Even when she's not in the country, she always shows up. So I thank you for taking the time. I thank you for blessing the audience with your wisdom and your infectious joy. I thank you for everything you've done for me in the last 20 months, as I've said. You see, she's been on What's Matters before, but she was a model.
Watch
that time.
eyebrows, them. All type of eyebrow.
All kinds of eyebrows. And I look forward to learning more from you and with you and all the wonderful things we're going to be doing this year. Look out. There'll be a lot more pictures, a lot more articles, interviews, everything. We're coming, guys. Just watch out, look out. TCN Network, Toronto Caribbean Newspaper, Carib 101. We are here. We're on the map, and we are making sure that Toronto and the world knows we are here. Thank you for joining us on What Matters Today. I will see you next week, and thank you.